Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to Tuesday, second day of the work week for those of us who work under that schedule. I hope you have had a good start to your week, a good Monday. I hope you are energized for today, that you are looking forward to the rest of the week. And yeah, hug announcement. Consider yourself hugged back, James. My week is going well. As with every Tuesday morning, it was a little busy this morning, but this should be the last really busy Tuesday morning. Mainly because the read and correct that I have to do offline for time constraints is done. The World Which Is has concluded. So that's not something I'm going to have to worry about anymore. I've got stuff to put in there, so that's not going to change. I'm still going to be busy, but that one for some reason always end up leaving me feeling busier. You will turn on volume so you can write, and I can see your word report. Alrighty. I have good writing, and for me, it's read and okay. This being Tuesday, it is read and correct morning. For those who are new to that, this is when I read chapters from my books and correct them as I go. I record these, so while this is happening, I will ignore the chat. Anything said there will be addressed afterwards once I'm done. And so that things are streamlined, so that things go well, I will start now by confirming the microphone is on, turning off desktop audio. I will confirm I'm on the correct screen. I have the correct image up. Yeah. And I will get this going. I will start the recording, and I'll see you all on the other side. Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 29 of The Technician's Fight. You know, his heart said before Gargaron offered him the sauce-covered cube of meat, silencing him. Oh, I know, he replied, grinning at the male leaning against him on the couch as he chewed. He speared another cube with a claw and dunked it in a different bowl. I don't think they ever meant for meals to be eaten on the couch, Jimmy hurried to say before the cube was at his mouth. You wouldn't let me feed you like this in bed. His heart glared at him. It's our bed, he said instead of chewing. I don't want it covered in sauce. We've covered it in sauce plenty of time before, he countered casually, and grinned as Jer worked that out. Then his face turned red. You love that about his heart, how easily his emotions showed. And there is such a thing as cleaning. Chewed another cube, but the couch isn't the same. You didn't drape sheets over it beforehand. The sauce will soak in and ruin the fabric. Gurgran leaned in and licked the sauce. Oh boy. You know what? This is a first draft. I'm not going to worry about it. Sauce off the side of Jer's mouth. So cleaning it will be a little harder. No more than once I've made you come all over it. You wouldn't. Oh, I certainly will, he grinned. Why do you think I'm feeding you like this? I want you all stuffed and pliable for when I... His tablet sounded the bride? Really? The bridge. The bridge is code. Maybe not. He reached for the tablet and tapped it. Go. Captain, we're receiving a distress signal. Hours away, but off the course you set. Okay, hours away and off the course you set. He frowned. We're weeks away from our destination. I don't think this is what you are waiting for, Captain. I've gone over their tag, and if they're fake, they are the most authentic fakes I've come across. Jer got off him. Even he knew this wasn't something they could ignore. Any detail on their distress? He stood and put his pants on. Pirate attack. The latest message said their engines had been disabled. They'll be boarded soon. Change course. I'm on my way. Have sensors gather as much information as possible on the way. He disconnected and put his vest on. He contacted a beta. Weapons are going live. Are going active, he ordered, and ended the call. He'd give them the details once he had them. Duty calls, his heart said before he could apologize. We will pick this up later, Galgran promised. With sheets on the couch, Jer countered as Galgran exited their apartment. Update, Galgran demanded as he stepped onto the bridge. Their latest transmission was interrupted partway through, comms said. But they stated they were being boarded before that happened. Anyone thinks there's meddling involved? Their pilot said. Hours away from the line seems like a stupid plan for pirates. But it would be a smart thing for merchants to aim for, Sensor said, even with how unlikely there'd be a ship within range at any one time. Then the meddling might be in the merchant's favor, Gergeron said, positioning himself in the center of the bridge. Civilians are to head to their home. I repeat, civilians are to return to their homes or seek shelter among the gods. We closed the all ship. Are we dealing with one of the Halans? Not according to the readings I'm getting. The largest of the ship looks to have been Kersitaron at one point, but it's been heavily modified. None of them matches established modifications. So some new groups of pirates, comms muttered, or an old one with fresh blood, their pilot said. You implied they are... okay, he didn't imply two ship. More than one. You'd imply there are more than one. Details on the others. Only one more. Only one more. Not much before their proximity to the merchant ship interfered with the readings. Boarding shuttle, the pilot said. Seems too large for a shuttle. From what I got, I estimate it to be 2/3 of the size of the merchant ship. That's a Kitaro Arsak class, owned by the Omirtar Etimo Toras. Com said merchant conglomerate registered out of the Shimbarian Deep Station, multi-species group with them as the majority. This is Wanta Turan Arsmar. That's a Kelsarian name, the pilot said. Some hero of battle? Hero of the Battle of Orlakarian, Gargaran provided. It's a Kelsarian affiliated ship. Registry is in good order, down to the repair request. As I said, Captain, if this tag is fake, it's the best I've seen. He nodded. On screen, the largest ship was one of the two pirates, the Kersitaran one, although many of the bulb that were characteristic of their design had been trimmed to be more in line with the rest of the hull, as if they wanted to remove unneeded space and enhance the visual aesthetic. Removing extra space would be something Earthers did. Could he have found a way out of the deal with the quartermaster's uncle? This wasn't happening with his assistance. The ship maneuvers. Weapons are to be armed, he called. Be ready to engage. Pilot, keep us out of their line of fire. Keep out of explosion range. Captain? The pilot asked, maneuvering them. These might be Earthers, and they've demonstrated a willingness to destroy themselves rather than be captured. Understood. Scans aren't showing me any weapons, Sensor said. He called Tome. Tome, are Cassitran ships usually armed? What? Gagarin cursed. It was his friend's sleep shift. Depending on their function, he finally said, are you dealing with an exploration or military one? Pirate one, possibly crewed by Earthers. Readings come up positive for possible Earthers, Sensor said, or Kelsarians, or Shimbarian, Tehornian, or Carcitorans, if they're on the small side. Not close enough to differentiate yet. I doubt pirates would have managed to get an armed one, Tom said. Thank you. He disconnected and focused on the screen. They blocked the view of the merchant ship and smaller pirate ship. Our readings... What? What readings are you getting from the others? Their engines are interfering with them. I think they're still connected, but the ship's increasing their engine output, and I'm not sure I can... They're picking up speed, the pilot said. Evade them, Gagarin ordered. Been trying. They're matching our trajectory. Are they that worried we'll be able to scan what the other ship's doing? Comms asked. I don't think that's their plan, the pilot said, her worry increasing. Captain, I think they... Weapons, he ordered, finishing her thought. Fire on the incoming ship. Disable if possible. Destroy if needed. Understood, Alpha. Evade as best as you can, he ordered as plasma bolts appeared on the screen. Yes, Captain. The blast revealed that the removed bulb had been replaced by heavier hull as those lasted longest. They're pushing their engine as hard as they can. Okay. You know what? No, I'm going to leave it like that. They're pushing their engine as hard as they'll go, Sensor said, before he could ask the danger that posed. Posed to the Bane, the other ship exploded. Can you take us out of the initial debris? He asked before the screen let them see anything. He knew what happened when the ship exploded. No, Captain. The best I can do is skirt it as I angle the ship away. That's going to take us away from the merchant and another ship, Tom said. Yeah. Something. She simply knows that from experience. Gone, you're still active. Target anything blue shifted. Acknowledge, Alpha. Do the best you can to keep us in the lightest debris field, he ordered. Syncing scans with you, pilot, Sensors said. The screen lightened and they could see the mass of debris. This time the Ben's gunfire wasn't visible as they used kinetic ammo against the inert debris. What are you getting from the merchant ship? Scans still aren't great from the leftover energy, but I'm confident the two ships are still connected. Can't get readings on the crew through this. Any information on what the Wanta Turan Arsmar is carrying? Knowing that could help get a sense of what the pirates are after. Sorry, Captain. The conglomerate isn't making their manifest public. I'm putting requests to, but a lack of response could be them not wanting to reveal the ship carried something important or whatever or whoever saw the notification not realizing what it meant for the Bane to contact them. At a Cassitran company, he'd assumed the first, but would Shimbarian keep track of Hunter ships outside their borders? Any response from the merchants? No, Captain. Keep trying. Yes, Captain. He settled in for the least endurable part of his job, waiting. The pirate ship is disengaging, Sensor announced. They were through the worst of the debris field, but enough obstructed their sight he couldn't tell what was going on with the merchant ship. I need more. Pushing Sensor as hard as I can, Alpha, but we're in the middle of the residual energy. Details are hard to get. Then don't bother with detail. How many left on the merchant ship? Checking. He thought he saw the pirate ship's engine. Pilot, how difficult would it be to alter course to follow them? I trust. Weapons to clear the way, she replied, so not difficult. Best I can tell, Alpha, there is no one on the merchant ship. The worst outcome, short of it being set to explode. But the one that simplified his decision. Beta, Batrix Selgisbild, take 2 packs with you. You are going to the Wanta Turan Orsmar. You are to investigate what's happened there and render aid if there is anyone left. Take supplies, we will be pursuing the pirate ship, and you might be on your own for a few hours. Scan of the ship reads stable, Sensor said. Understood, Alpha. Investigate and render assistance. Don't expect to sleep in my bed. We'll do our best to get you back to your maid before then, he replied. You have forgotten how things go on the line, Alpha. Batrix, terminating call. He rolled his eyes and considered calling back to let him know what he thought of that. Instead, he focused on the screen. Pilot, alter course. Weapons? Hey, come back here. Weapons. Focus on clearing a path. The pilot will indicate the pressing targets. Got it, Alpha. We'll do what we can to keep the hull from getting any more scratches. Are they red-shifted? He asked, studying the screen. They were finally clear of the debris field and back at full speed. Batrix Selgisbill had contacted them to confirm they'd boarded the merchant ship and were starting to investigate. Scans confirm they're somehow going slightly faster than we are, but I'm reading a lot of heat where their reactor probably is. They might be begging for Xenia Haran to abandon them the way they're going. How long until they are out of sensor range? Oh, we have days before that happens, if they can sustain this speed for that long. Leave a note with the other shift that I want to be informed if they get as close as a quarter of scans. Yes, Alpha. Then it might be worth Alex's wrath for asking to push the reactor, and it gave him time for bribes of his own. Is that a space? No. Toward the engineer to minimize the reprisals. Captain, the beta informed me they access the ship's bridge and are able to scan the ship. The crew numbered 18 and has been taken. Patrick, it's your Alpha. I'm sorry to say you have to rely on your pack for company while you sleep. These pirates did something your namesake would be proud of to their engines and reactors and are going to make us earn this kill. When you're finished with the ship, look over the debris for any indication whose ship that was before you pirated it. Before it was pirated. Told you I wasn't sleeping in my bed, Alpha. Yes. What do you want from me? To offer minus compensation? Would your heart come with it? He rolled his eyes. Get him to use a shorter version of your name and he'll probably say yes. Now, get to work, Beta. Will do, Alpha. Do what? Sensor asked once the call terminated. Work or get your heart to use a short name for him? With him? Gagran said, both. And that concludes chapter 29 of The Technician's Fight. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is up on Ream Story. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day. Hello, Reject. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing today? I saw stuff. Tag. Okay. Doing well, rebuilding a center for a forklift. to start your day. Well, I hope that will go well. Alright, so I need to go here. Actually, there's probably a thing or more than one thing I need to do here. Yeah, definitely more than one. As do I, trying to get it reinstalled today because you've had it since Friday. Oh. A complicated rebuild, or things have just gotten in the way? That is something I forgot to do. So let's start with that. Wasn't familiar how this cylinder disassembles, so you had to teach yourself how to do it. Okay. Man, I hope So Furry gets itself back up and running soon. Actually, no, this doesn't go there. Oh, right. That's probably why I hadn't updated that yet. Oh well. You know what? I don't care. I can remove the stuff that doesn't fit. This is August 10th. That becomes 17th. Oh, right. That's definitely not where you belong. Why did I do that? Not even trying to go fast. I'm just trying to do it correctly. And failing. All right, let's try that. Interesting. 103 is not there. 10. That is done. Okay, so I can close this and move on to what I'm working on today. So that's 23rd, it becomes a 26. I need to keep this day from feeling rushed. It's a half day for me today. I am going to see Superman this afternoon. For some reason, even though everything I'm doing this morning is the same as I always do, I'm left feeling like I don't have the time. And, that bugs me a little bit. Stop bothering with that. You often feel the same? This is not a rare occurrence. It's one of those things that is part of my life, so can't. Oh, wait a minute. I need to do Reem's story. So, gotta gotta accept it. It's just a little annoying at times. 348 words, James. The anecdotes of the artistocracy. Congratulations. One random task schedule for later in the day makes you want to keep the whole day before it clear. Somewhere that's an anxiety thing for ADHD. As an ADHD thing, I can definitely see it. In my case, it's schedule related. Is the fact that I'm very scheduled, and it making a change. If you're asking my case, I don't know. I'm not diagnosed. Like, this is self-diagnosed. Me, reading about it and figuring out, okay, well, this matches what I am. And I want to be clear that I'm not saying I don't have to worry about it because I have ADHD. No. ADHD is what I have, and it gives me ways of working with it. Granted, I've built most of them already, not knowing what I had. Like, this is something, like, I had learned to live with what I had before I knew what it was called. I knew ADHD was a thing I've known for a long time, but I had never researched. I had never felt a need to learn about it. So I did not know how well it aligned with my behavior. So, it simply became oh, this is what I have. Oh, that's interesting. Rather than, oh, okay, well, I've got that, so I don't have to do anything about it. It's one of the reasons why even once I knew I had it, I resisted using the label. I don't even know if it's on my Patreon, on my Twitch at this point. Yep, it is. Okay. So I did end up putting it on my Twitch at some point. Cool. Well. Alrighty. I am going to start another chapter by confirming the microphone is on, turning off desktop audio. I will confirm. Yeah, it's going to help if I can see the screen. I'd put me on ND friendly. Oh, I'm out. I don't have the tags. Twitch limits it to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm out of tags. So alrighty, sorry. Okay, I am confirming. Okay, let me start. Microphone is on. Desktop audio is off. I have, I'm on the correct screen. I have the correct image up. I am starting the recording, and I will see you all on the other side. Welcome back to another Reading and Correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 30 of The Technician's Fight. That's not what I wanted to happen. There we go. The ship didn't have the air of expectation Jeremy had expected. I want to Have expectation, Jeremy had expected. I don't like having those two words there. Expectation. You know what? The level of alertness. The level of alertness Jeremy expected. There was something in the days that followed, but it wasn't the tension. It wasn't tension he felt. They were chasing a pirate ship. Didn't that mean? Oh, I see. Okay. But it wasn't the tension he felt. Okay. That's confusing. There was something in the days that followed, but it wasn't like the tension he felt. They were chasing a pirate ship. Didn't that mean that any moment now, battle could occur? Gralad explained how the ship they pursued was staying ahead, pushing their reactors until they were slightly faster than the Bane, and he's going to use redlining. Redlining their reactor, and it's singular, not plural, until they were slightly faster than the Bane and becoming slightly slower when they needed to ease up on it to keep from destroying themselves. What his heart didn't seem to understand was that it was only a question of time before that didn't work anymore. And since they were suicidal enough to blow themselves up as soon as the Bane had showed up, they'd shut down the reactor before the explosion occurred, and they would be weapon fire. Well, shuttles boarded. There would be weapons fire while shuttles boarded it. Then fighting, rescuing of prisoners, and more fighting. Gralad put him to bed and distracted Jeremy before they spiraled any further. And in the afterglow, he'd realized that the lack of tension on his heart's part, the reason the ship wasn't keyed up for what was coming, could be because, unlike him, they'd gone through this before. This wasn't their first prolonged chase. And Kelsarians weren't built for sustained stress. They knew something was coming. The civilians knew that. At a moment's notice, they'd have to head for shelter, and they remained aware of that. But until then, they did what their gods demanded of them. They lived, they loved, they enjoyed. Real or not, there might be something to that mindset. He looked at the sensor reading, trying to make something of them, anything, because of the situation, the engineer had open access to the sensor. He had to ask for changes he needed, but their readings were mirrored in his office for him to study and provide advice if he had them. It also meant Jeremy had access to them. He'd finished the work he'd been assigned, so until the engineer noticed and gave him something else to work on, he studied the readings. What do you make of them? The engineer asked. Jimmy snorted. What's there to make? Their engines are going so hard, they're basically shielding everything on the other side from our sensors. He pointed to a spike. That might be a mark of Archeron radiation, which would support their redlining their reactors, but it could as easily be interference from the propulsion energy. Earther? No way to know. Even if it wasn't blocked, the energy output from reactors is just energy. We get byproduct radiation, but that's pretty much the same no matter how a reactor is designed. I could see someone trying to shield those, but all that do is make them stand out. Most of those can't be blocked. They'll go through everything short of a black hole, the engineer said. Yeah, but it wouldn't stop someone from trying, just to say they did it. It's an Earther thing. Maybe some other species too, but we are famous among ourselves for building things that serve little purpose other than to prove it can be done. All those projects on your drafting table? Jeremy chuckled. Most of them. A few are what I think of as improvement to the reactor. Don't worry, I don't do anything. They're mostly theoretical models When the engineer didn't comment, he looked over his shoulder. The pensive expression went away. When you have your own, he stated, and Jeremy laughed. Oh, sure. When you're so old and shriveled, you can't be the engineer, you mean. He shook his head. I'm happy sticking with theory. Hopeless problems like this and whatever you give me to do, so I don't have to think about what's going to happen when we catch up to them. The backup needs to be looked over. Do you do that and fix whatever is needed? You're letting me do whatever I want without checking in with you first? DeMille snorted. So long as it's just repairs to repair what's wrong. Not that I care what happens to it. It's not like it's mine. But don't even think about trying your ideas on it, he added as Jeremy smiled. It's your heart you'll have to answer to if he needs it powered and it doesn't work. The smile didn't go away. But him, I know how to bribe. The engineer rolled his eyes. That works just as well on with me. Oh, sure. That's why you're letting me make any changes to your reactor. His friend smirked. You aren't that skilled. Jeremy looked over the secret. It's right now, he called without pulling out from within the shuttle's command panel. It wasn't going to work yet again. So there was no point in... It came on! Tom exclaimed, and Jeremy went over the readings. They were stable. None of the secrets generated heat. Had he actually lucked into giving the maneuvering system active control? He pulled himself out. Just don't ask me how to recreate it. Maintenance, his friend said. I'm ready for a test maneuvering. Give me the all clear. That's going to be... Where are you? Come on, cursor. Give me the all clear to engage flight control. Who's this? I'm not registering any ship on the comms. You may address me as pilot Tomeri Mortoral. I'm in my shuttle, the Earther-designed one. You got that thing working? I do have access to an Earther engineer. Don't anyone get the idea I can do anything about other Earther ships, Jeremy said, moving close to his friend so that his caller would pick up his voice. I don't even know how I got this one working. He knows, Jeremy said. He performed Earther science on it. She opened his mouth and had a finger in it before he could protest again. Well, you're alone in that part of the hangar, so you're clear to unlock, but not to maneuver out of the civilian shuttle section. I don't want my shuttles damaged when yours blows up. We'll be fine. Tom took his finger out of Jeremy's mouth. You know this could blow up. I'm confident it won't happen. His friend replied, tapping screens. And why is that? Jimmy held on to the chair when the shuttle vibrated. Because our death would make Zinni sad, and his namesake would never want that for his favorite lover. Your trust in... The shuttle jerked up, and Jimmy's hearts jumped even higher. Tom squealed in delight. I can't believe we didn't blow up, Jimmy muttered. Told you. He tapped other controls. Now, how do I see outside? Don't look at me. My only suggestion is to stick your head out the hatch. Can't do that. I'm at the controlled. He smiled. Do you mind looking outside and telling me when I get close to a wall? Tom, you can't. The shuttle drifted and Jimmy rushed to the hatch. You are insane. Am I close? He should jump out and let his friend kill himself. Roughly 20 meters away. He could console anyhow. 15, 12. Growl would be harder to do so with. 9, 7, 5. Tom! The shuttle stopped moving. Am I 3 or 2 meters away? From an early grave? What's that? The fastest way to the forest. Tom laughed. So? He looked outside. I'm calling it 2 meters. Closer than I wanted, Tom muttered. Look ahead. Tell me when I'm 3 meters away. Are you? Jeremy yelled. Then the shuttle drifted forward and he didn't wait for that 3 meters. He gave a running countdown of the distance. And he breathed again only when it came to a stop roughly 3 meters from the wall. You're going to give me a heart attack, Jeremy complained. What are you going to tell Growl then? That I took you to medical and that you'll be in his bed before his sleep shift. Park this thing, you lover of just Billiam, so I can get out of here and tell Growl who you're truly in love with. My love is big enough for him, you, and a few gods. The shuttle drifted away from the wall. Glad to hear that. I just want to survive being in this shuttle with you. I swear, I am never getting into anything you pilot again. Tom grinned at him. "You better hope to we make a station before I'm on shift again. Ship pilot, remember?" Jeremy swallowed the groan. Well, at least he couldn't. Nope, he wasn't even risking the thought. Jeremy screamed as he pushed himself to his feet, shoving his two packmates off of him. They rolled to their feet as two other ran. Jeremy grabbed one and swung her into the other. Then, at a weight on his back, he reached, grabbed a handful of jacket, and pulled. Kelsarian might have strength over him, but that meant little without leverage. She landed on her back and wriggled out of her jacket before he could throw her to the side. She grinned as he panted. He threw himself at her and was the one grabbed, maneuvered off balance, then was on his back with her straddling his chest. Before he could reach for her, there was a weight on his arm, then the other, then his legs, and then his hips. Try as he might, he was the one without leverage this time. "What mistake did you make?" Thur asked, looking down at him, and Jeremy glared. "Ever agreeing to being a hunter?" he snapped. "How can any of you just be enjoying yourselves when we've got to be about to end?" Yeah. Well, I mean, in his state, I'm not going to fix his speech. "How can any of you just be enjoying yourselves when we've got to be about to enter combat any day now? 2 weeks we've been at this, and them redlining the reactor and barely letting it breathe. I can't stand this." She stood. "Maybe you males need to distract our packmate until he remembers that hunters live when we don't hunt. But the fight will come when it comes, Hunter," Isbito said. "The mistake you are making is the same you often make. You are in the future. Be here, now, with us." "I don't know how with this. We're going to be sent on that ship." "You can't know that," Thro said, standing. "I'm the only one with experience of Earther reactors, and the odds are extremely high. That's what's on that ship. We're being sent." Eyes turned to their beta. "It makes sense," he said. The others nodded. "That's it?" Jimmy demanded. "You've just got confirmation we're going into battle, and you nod?" "We're hunters of the line," Yamilk said. "Going into battle is what we do, but until then, we have to live. Live in the now, enjoy the now, those here with us, for after the battle, some of them may be walking to the forest." "Not today," their beta said. "No," Yamilk said, smiling. "Not today." Not today. Jeremy reminded himself as he felt the tension rise. The fear of what was to come. He focused on his breathing and swam. Not today. Another week. He was amazed the other ship's reactor hadn't given out yet. The cycle of redlining it and barely slowing it down to allowing it to cool down hadn't narrowed as much as he'd expected. He didn't have enough information to figure out what it meant other than the reactor had to be recent, which supported Earther military passing themselves off as pirates, and that this wasn't simply a commandeered ship. Or they were successful pirates who understood the value of recent and properly working equipment. Not enough information. Not today. He plunged and turned around. The mantra helped, but keeping busy was more effective. He needed problems to solve, things to keep his mind focused on the now instead of tomorrow. But always working on those came with problems of their own, so he had to take breaks. He had to live, to enjoy, to be. Never realized how hard just being could be when something loomed. He saw the sandy incline and stood. He grabbed his towel and he grabbed his towel off the sand and stood drying himself. Not putting on a show, he told himself, just putting himself on display. Kelsarians enjoyed watching him, so why should he deprive them? He chuckled at the memories of his early discomfort, all the attached belief of what it meant to be looked at in appreciation, even with desire. His hair, more damp than wet, he stretched on the sand to soak in the heat. Not today, he reminded himself. Probably soon, but not today. Today, he lived and enjoyed himself. Tomorrow would bring whatever it brought. And that concludes chapter 30 of The Technician's Fight. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available on Ream Story. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day. No idea. You're not diagnosed or anything. Just remember reading somewhere that kind of action, feeling rushed because something scheduled later is associated with your anxiety. Yep. 26 becomes 28. That's been done. So I can move that here and move on to this. Alrighty, and to start another chapter. By confirming microphone is on, turning off desktop audio, confirming I'm on the correct screen, correct image is up. I am starting the recording and I'll see you all on the other side. Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 31 of The Technician's Fight. Gregoron pulled his arm out from under Jer and rolled over Tom to tap his tablet. Go. Alpha, the bridge's beta said, we are needed on the bridge. On my way. Jer and Tom grumbled half-awake protest as he extricated himself, then were curled against each other. He hurried to dress, leaving the apartment in the process of putting his vest on. He'd have preferred a shower first, but the beta wouldn't have bothered him if this wasn't important. Update, he said, entering the bridge. The beta seated him the center. I don't need off the bridge. I've already set cities there. And I've established often enough what the center is about. The prey is still just out of our claws somehow. Gregoran was impressed. He'd asked Alex and Jer, and both had expected their reactors to give out weeks before from the constant push to maximum, even with the respites it received. But this is why I called you, the beta said. Sensor. The front of the bridge shimmered and showed the stars with larger forms obstructing them. Before Growl could ask if they thought their prey was hoping to hide among one of the asteroids, the image shifted to a field of dim blues with a bright red glow in the center, and more. What is that second energy source? He asked, studying the yellow light partially obstructed by their prey's propulsion output. No way to know for sure at this range, the female at Sensor said, but the list of possibility is narrow with this level of steady output. Top of the pile? A station. In the unclaimed territories? Possibly. We're close enough to the edge, it's difficult to know if it's officially unclaimed or claimed by the Earthers. The beta snorted. It's the Earthers. They'd claim Kelser as theirs if we let them. We're thinking of the Tehornians, Gregoran said distractedly. Which station is it? I didn't know of any station any in this part of the unclaimed territories, but there are no stations on records here. Comms answered. He cursed. Hitman to Black Market Station. How far ahead of us is our tag? It reached them, Comms said. So no passing themselves off as the traveler. That meant the reception would be hostile. Any reading on ships? Mask about the prey's propulsion. That might be the intent, the beta said. Alex would be asleep. What were the odds pushing the reactor would give them the speed needed to catch up to the prey before they were close enough for the ships at the station to fire on them? There was no guarantee any of them would come to this one's defense, but black markets, you know what? I am going to start calling it a black station. But black stations like this didn't attract law-abiding ships. The Bane was a known hunter ship, and every pirate benefited from removing one of them from the line. Best estimation on when we'll reach the line of return fire, pilot, stopped us just outside of it. Getting the prey out from among them will not be easy, the beta said. We can't catch up to them before we're inside the return fire line. Gagran replied, and they will have to leave at some point. Comms, what's the time frame to the closest ship of the line? Based on the last update, around a month away. They can do a lot in that time, DeBrito pointed out. Earthers had to be involved in this being established here. Prey is slowing, Sensor said. Enough we'll catch up to them? DeBrito asked. Not if we want to stay outside the return line, the pilot replied. They're only slowing, so they'll have the right momentum to dock. I'm confirming, Sensor said. He'd remind the pilot of procedures when the situation was handled. I'm estimating 23 ships docked, Censored. Reading on the station itself makes it doubtful it's armed. So no need to worry about return. I'm going to have to fix that in the later chapter. So no need to worry about ships destroying ship destroying weapons, at least. Should I adjust the return fire line with that information, Alpha? No. Better the room to react to what the ships would do than be too close with no return advantage. Sensor, calm. I need as much information on the docked ship as you can get me. Still need them to reduce thrust further before I'll get anything we can use, Alpha. Soon as possible, then. He settled to wait. They docked, Sensor said. Still no overt reaction from the other ships. Gagran had lost track of it among the details of the station for a time now. You'd think this one time pirates would decide to work together, the Beta said. Any of the Alans on the station? He asked. No, Alpha. No Kelsian design there. Shape identified Tahunian, Kersetoran, Redoshi, Dromian, and Shibarian, along with 3 that don't flag as anything from the database. Gotta be Earther designs, that the Beta said. Or ships that have been modified so modified they are unique, he countered. Anyone we know among them? None of the ship, no. Match known pirates, Alpha, Comes answered. 23 of them, the Beta muttered, and not one that's been seen before? Hunters of all territories shared their files on pirates, even the Tahunians, although Gagran questioned the veracity of those. The Beta was right. For that many pirates not to be identifiable was suspicious. So you'd think this is where all those destroyed ships that have been reported over the last decades have been hidden? The Beta asked. If that's the case, it means the Earthers have been It means the Earther okay, this is badly worded. Never intended to be honest, with us, he didn't like that thought. As reprehensible as he felt the Earther government's action were toward its citizens, wait, what? As reprehensible as he felt the Earther government's actions were toward its citizens. Okay, that's superfluous. Its action toward its citizens were a justification could be made. To establish a station here and steal ships for decades? That spoke of preparation for illicit action within Kelsian territory he didn't want to think they were capable of. Do you think this could be the work of some of their citizens? He asked. Acting without their government's approval? The Beta asked in return. Hopefully. If this was an authorized Earther operation, what he did could have long-ranging ramification. Any indication they know we're here, we're well within range of civilian sensors, which meant the lack of query from the station pointed to this not having government approval. Are we approaching? The Beta asked. Not yet. We can't handle all these ships as opposition. That's nice. Do we have enough meat to get them to eat at our fire? We don't need them to eat with us. Just agree this is our hunting grounds for the time being. Comms, wide broadcast. Overwhelm all frequencies. Target the station and ship docked. Comms ready. He replied. This is the hunter ship Viper's Bane, addressing the Black Station and all docked ships. We are only in pursuit of one ship on counts of kidnapping and suspicions of sentient slavery. Actually, I am not going to bother with sentient. Slavery is by automation, by default of sentience. He ignored the Beta's tilted ear. The only way their prey could proclaim their innocence of the charge was to identify themselves. We will not target any ships who leave the station within the next 6 hours. Station, we will not target your operation unless there is active interference with our hunt if we need to board you to reach our prey. The lack of a reply from the station worried him. Station, I advise you to acknowledge that you will cooperate. They're receiving the signal, comms confirmed. Weapons, go on standby. 6 hours giving them time to move to another ship, the Beta said. How easily can you track a mass of 18 people moving off that ship, Sensor? As a mass, I'll be able to tell you they left, so long as they stay along the docks where they're going. So I say, where they left and where they're going, so long as they stay along the dock. If they move deeper within the station, I'll lose them. If they move deeper, I don't have to worry about them leaving with anyone fleeing. I'm getting a ship powering up, Sensor said. Another one. 3, 5, 8. Instruction, Alpha, the weapons Beta asked. Remain on standby. I'll instruct once I see what they're doing. I have movement, Sensor said as one of the ship broke from the station, then another and more. Directions. Other than away from the station, he couldn't tell if they were heading towards the Bane at their distance. Away from us. The station is contacting us, Com said. How about you furballs go back to playing in your sandbox? The female's voice said. You know what? I am... How about you furball go back to playing in your litter box? The female's voice said in Earther. He shrugged at the Beta's tilted ear. He had no idea what litter box could refer to in the context of the insult. Station, our hunt doesn't involve you unless you step on the hunting grounds, he replied to the Earther. Oh, color me scared of the big scary kitty cat. You're out of your jurisdiction, puss. Go home. He took a chance. These are unclaimed territories. I entered them in pursuit of slavers, to whom you have now implicitly given refuge. Federation law gives me the authority to take control of your station until the situation is resolved if you force me to, as well as bring reinforcement to ensure the return of the kidnapped Kelsarian's citizens. If they called this bluff, he doubted Tom would be able to find him regulations that could be bent to agree to his claims, but he'd deal with that if the gods decided to side with these Earthers. I'm picking up a second broadcast, Alpha, Combs said. Then a new voice was added. Don't you fucking believe these assholes, Amel said. We didn't do one thing. You have 18 Kelsarians held against their will on your ship, Gugran said. Oh, fuck off. No one's talking to you. I'm talking to you, he snapped and took a breath. Federation law. I don't give a fuck about your federation. Humans are who I answer to. I listen to. You know what? Answer to. I can get one to talk with you if you want. I would love to see that, the male replied without hesitation. The Beta frowned, and Gugran agreed. Not even a moment of surprise at the claim? Let me get him. Oh, sure, like I'll believe any voice you have talked to me. You want visual confirmation? What do you think? You're the one not broadcasting visuals. I'm not the one who has to prove he's got a pet human who can talk to me. He ground his teeth at the mocking tone. He told Com to mute him in ear code. Earther military? The beta asked. Who else is after? Who else is after your heart? Anyone who thinks they can make a profit selling him to the Earthers, but they wouldn't know I could make that claim. Earther pirates wouldn't bother with the stories, spreading branch reports about me and him. The beta tilted an ear questioningly, and Gregoran shook his head. He forgot few on the ship even knew about those broadcasts. Jer. Silence. Jer. Still silence. Tome, wake Jer. What? The next was indistinct. Your mate's calling you. His Alpha is calling him, Tome. I'm awake, Jer said, not quite sounding it. I need you on the bridge, dressed. He'd prefer him in here as a hunter, but he didn't have his uniform in their apartment. I'll see him there, Tome said. Print him coffee before he leaves. What can I do? Jer asked as he entered the bridge. Gagarin considered Tome, the situation, and shook his head. His friend left the bridge. I need you to speak with Earthers. I don't expect anything to come of it, but play along and try to get them to release their prisoners. Okay. Can I lie just how far can I go here? None of my training covered this. Don't lie. Don't promise anything. If you're unsure, code comms to mute and ask. Code? My ears don't move, Alpha. Right. Give him a gesture. Jeremy considered it, then made a thumbs down. Transmit, Gagron said. Transmitting. This is Hunter Jeremy Bradshaw. How may I address you? You can fucking address me as your Royal Highness, Almighty Ruler of Earth. Jeremy rolled his eyes. How do you want to proceed, your Royal Highness, Almighty Ruler of Earth? Gagron wondered if the hesitation was because he'd gone along with the name or they were confirming who Jer was. You think I'm going to believe some image on my screen? You have any idea how easy it'd be for me to send you something like you fucking one of those cats? As easy as you having access to records of me having sex with one of them, Jer replied before Gagarin could stop him. Oh, I see. No, okay, this is actually correct. He needed to see to it he received training in negotiation. But the sputtering from the other's mail marked the reply as effective. Yeah, he finally said. Well, I'm still not buying you're not just another cat with a holo over him, especially not after you said that. I want you on the dock so I can confirm there's no fur on you. So you want me there naked? What? Definitely needed negotiation training. So I present myself in person, and you'll release your prisoners to me. Exactly. Jer gave the thumb down. Muted, Com said. He's lying, his heart said. This is about getting me. I agree. Can we still use this? The beta asked. If we fit our 4 packs on we can fit 4 packs on a transport shuttle, and his present and he and his present themselves. The other 3 take position to assault the pirate ship to start the rescue. If the prisoners are still there, Sensor said something's happening. Agreed to their demand, he told Jer. Growl there. He took him by the shoulder. You're a hunter, Jer. We die so others live. I know. I was going to point out they aren't going to want the rest of my pack there. Growl snorted. They're going to have to learn to live with it. I'm not sending you in there without the best I can find. And that concludes chapter 31 of The Technician's Fight. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available on Ream Story. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day. Alrighty. Thank you for the follow. Stay away, Rick. That is 28. Becomes 30. While that's happening, let's update the date because we're changing month next week. Whoa, what? January? Oh. Right, no, you are August. So that's why this wasn't adding up. So it's going to be September. There we go. I'm going to save that. We're going to go here, and I will be right back. I believe you posted. Let's check it. Yep, you did. Make sure that that is done. Okay. Here. Did I fix the number? This is chapter. What? What chapter is this? $31. 198 words, the anecdotes of the aristocracy. Congratulations, James. I guess I would have seen it here, but would I've looked? Okay, that is done. All right, this is Stepping Wild. Ah. Actually, no, this is not loaded. Alright, this is properly set up. Okay. Hey, Amelia! You sneak in just in time. I was about to start recording a read and correct. Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for the raid. How are you doing today? I am doing well indeed. Today's a half day for me. I'm taking the afternoon off. I am going to see Superman. You're doing good. I am glad to hear that. Okay. You want to go to the lobby? I shall do that. Wrist stretch. Let me set up the lobby. Alrighty. Lateral. Outside right wrist. Outside left wrist. Inside wrist. Inside left wrist. Up. Center. You got to run to an appointment, Amelia? Alrighty. Gonna leave it look on. Cool. Of the movie. I'm hopeful. I haven't looked at. I've seen the first preview of Superman. That made me hopeful, and I've stayed away from everything else. I do not. This is one of the rare movies where I don't want spoil. I don't want any accidental information. So I haven't watched any extra trailers. I have not listened to any commentary on it. I even go out of my way to avoid, if somebody has a thumbnail on YouTube with Superman on it, I don't even want to see what's written there. I do not want to have. Yeah, I want to go into that movie completely fresh. Alrighty. And yeah, sorry. And that's the rehydrate. The movie is a movie. Now I gotta ban you, James. I told you I didn't want any spoilers. You just ruined it for me. Now I'm not gonna be able to enjoy it. I thought I was walking into a play or something. Alrighty. I I am going to start the next read and correct by confirming the microphone is on, turning off desktop audio. I will confirm I'm on the correct screen. I have the correct image up. I am starting the recording and I will see you all on the other side. Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 97 of Stepping Wild. The first creature to reach Tivs was feline in looks. Its claws and fur were metal over stone, but it also had wooden horns. He took them with his shield, but the force behind the impact pushed him back. His attempt at pulling earth essence from the ground failed. That was the dungeons, and it didn't let him take control. He was fully into daylight by the time he managed to shove it aside. A stone and crystal rabbit flew at him, and he cut it. The feline sliced through his leg pants, and Tivs bashed it away with his shield for a stone wolf to land on him, sending him to the ground, teeth biting into his shoulder. He added an etching of corruption to the edge of his sword, removed its head, and hurried to his feet. An impact from a wooden limb broke his focus with pain, and he was against the wall before he managed an etching to heal the broken bones. Well, that would be purity. A fire blast gave whatever that creature was something else to worry about, but a bear was already on him, normal claws into his flesh. A detonated air etching between them sent it and the previous creature flying back. Why didn't they crack you open? The dungeon asked. He got to his feet, keeping track of the creatures. Send them away and we can talk. There's a lot you don't know. I can help with that. Oh, you'll be all the help I need once I've drank you up. The wolf, fox, and three creatures were made of wood. Fortunately, they took up enough of the corridors, the others stayed back. He blocked the wolf. We don't have to fight. The fuck nipped at his leg, then darted away under the tree's swing. He dodged that, but the wolf then had his teeth in his sword arm. He focused through the pain to form a fire etching, but it shattered from the smash into his back. Slash into his back. With a growl, he unleashed a raw fire and burned his three attackers to ash, then absorbed the essence. That was mine! Tiv snorted, healing himself while watching for the next attack. I'm playing by the rules you set. The dungeon replaced those he killed with versions made mostly of stone, but gave them wooden claws and teeth. I can do worse. The deer changed as he watched, its body turning to stone, but the antlers remained wood. He looked at the ceiling. Just stop so we can talk. No. They charged, and he waited until they were in him? At him. Near him to set a quick air etching under him. Yeah, that's too many. That's under his feet. And leaped above them. He landed at their back and cut limbs off as they turned to attack again. Those were still mostly made of elements he was immune to. Okay. Started dealing with next he played. The dungeon replaced those he killed. The deer changed. They charge and leap over all of them. He landed at their back, cut limbs off as they turned to attack again. Those were still mostly made of elements he was immune to, and he kept those crystal horns away. The dungeon seemed to lack the creativity to try something it hadn't seen working. The impact against his back hurt and sent him into the mass of creatures. They clawed, bit, and stumped. Most hooves and claws were harmless, but a few were crystals. He extended his shield and pulled his limb under. The bashing against it and the occasional clawed paw reaching under made focusing difficult, but he etched the air detonation one, then but he etched an air detonation then fed it fire. It hurt, but got them off of him. He made an etching of purity, then fed it fever as he applied it. The pain that accompanied the healing was blinding. Worked much. Okay, I'm missing words in here. The pain, the healing was blinding, but worked much faster. I need an it there, but it worked much faster. This is getting annoying. Crack already. The creatures weren't as injured as he hoped. Those of stone and metal barely showed damage. Crystal had broken off, but the only creatures rendered ineffective for fighting were those made mainly of wood or flesh. This isn't supposed to be easy for you either. Runs are so the runner and dungeon will improve. You test us, we overcome, you learn to be better, smarter. Just don't you ever stop? I can help you, he repeated, trying not to let his exasperation sound. If you do things the way they're supposed to be done, you can get strong enough to have multiple floors, to have a city with runners coming in daily. He doubted would listen, but any time he gave himself meant more healing. Things like you? All the time? Yes. He'd explain about people later. Coming in, breaking my creatures, and what? Leaving instead of me drinking them up? You absorb those who failed the test. I don't want some of them. They all rushed him. Blast of fever fed fire etchings removed the flesh creatures. Fire blast took care of the wooden ones, as well as removing those parts on the others, leaving only crystal as the threat. But the dungeon hadn't seemed to notice his vulnerability to that element. Small air detonation etching fed with fire kept them from crowding him, although he suffered as well when he used them too close. But slowly, he was thinning his attackers. Maybe the dungeon was using up its reserve? More likely, it was planning something. Remaining alert for surprise became easier as the attacks were less frequent. Then he was the only one left, panting and hoping the dungeon had enough. You must think you're so great, it mocked. That didn't bode well. So many etchings he needed to work out. Fever was the limit of the body, so he should be able to come up with one that revitalized him. Yeah. Maybe he'd have to use it with purity, since suffusing himself with it had taken away the fatigue along with the injury. After this, he had to go through every etching he hadn't already tested for how they reacted to being fed another element. Figure out which combination was the most effective against each element, then return to experimenting with new etching. He'd grown too complacent with his established ones of late. Nothing to say. It asked in a mocking tone. Nothing about how if I listen, you'll help me become the greatest dungeon. Dib snorted. You've made it clear that's never happening. I don't have to listen to you. I'll know what you do once you're cracked open, and if it paused. If what? If you crack me open. You've sent a lot of creatures and I'm still uncracked. But you've leaked. You stopped it, but that shows you can be cracked. It paused. When it spoke again, Tibbs was confident he heard a smile. And I have just the thing for that. The form that pushed out of the wall further down the corridor was twice his height. Tree-like and lanky in appearance, meant little with dungeon creatures. Stowe and Fearman had showed that. It was made mostly of crystal and was all edges and spikes. It reminded him of his ice sword back before he'd mastered keeping his anger out of forming them. He smiled. Anger meant sloppiness. He let it come to him, both so he could study its essence. Its essence and get a sense of what to expect. And for time to heal some more. He missed the near instant healings fusing gave him. It was still a dozen paces away when it brought an arm down on him, extending it. His shield was up well before the impact, and the crystal shattered from it. But instead of scattering, the shards clung to his shield, growing over the edge and under it. He let go and flung himself back. He had a new one up in time to take the next attack, and it too, and had to leave that one behind too, as the shattered crystal reached for him. He was up, another shield ready, but the creature was still. How did you get in here without me noticing? The dungeon asked. Tibbs forced himself not to react to the ploy, but sensing back, muddied essence registered. He glanced over his shoulder as the dungeon asked, Is that yours? A copper-haired young woman in worn leather stood by the entrance, sword in hand and smile on her face. The metal between the leather layers told him who that was more than her word. Fleet Fingers, she announced, pointing the sword at him. Nibble Runner and all the other names you've gone by are wanted by so many cities. I'm finally going to get the respect I deserve. You know what? The dungeon said then dismissively. I don't care what you are. The etching formed too fast for Tibbs to do more than react with one of his own next to the dungeon's, because any closer and the muddiness of the green stone would have disrupted it. They activated almost simultaneously, and the young woman flew back so fast from the combined effect, Tibbs worried for her landing, not that would cause the most damage. Unlike his, the dungeon's etching expanded in all directions, cracking the walls. Ouch, ouch, ouch! Tibbs raised his shield in vain. Didn't plan this all well at all. The dungeon continued. Ouch! His shield shattered from the unknown impact, and he slammed into the wall. When he was able to think through the pain of so many shattered bones, he formed the fever-fed purity etching, and that healing pain barely registered. He hoped his hair etching caught her first, and that she rolled the second etching's force instead of being impacted by it. He hoped she survived. He wrapped his limbs in life essence and hardened that, then pushed away from the wall. You tried to kill her. The cracked walls and his healing bones made that clear. How else was I going to drink her up? He sounded annoyed, but because you distracted me, it's outside my reach. Probably won't be anything left by the time it's dragged back in, it grumbled. She had nothing to do with this. It was here, it replied, sounding annoyed and puzzled. What else was I going to do with it? Tibbs realized he'd held out hope he could make them see reason as it shattered. You don't care. He couldn't see her anymore, but he imagined her broken body sprawled on the green grass. I thought this fight would convince you there was a better way, but you just don't care. Better than drinking you and it up? It replied mockingly. I don't think so. Tibbs returned his attention to the advancing crystal. Fine. He pulled the essence life out of it. Then I'm done playing. And that concludes chapter 97 of Stepping Wild. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available for free on Royal Road. If you want to read ahead of that and support me in the process, that is on Ream Story, where where it is about 20 chapters ahead. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day. Alrighty. Oh, right. I removed that earlier than I should have. Okay, what is the chapter nomenclature? How did I name them? Alrighty. That's how. Right. I need to go here first. Then go here. This is August 22nd. That means 25th. This is going to Royal Road as well, so... Start here, chapter. Oh, that is like 6. That's good. 7. Says 10, 10. That's 14. Okay, that is all done. So that start another chapter by confirming microphone is on, turning off desktop audio. Confirming I'm on the correct. Actually, I'll be right back. Alright, confirming I'm on the correct screen. I have the correct image up. I am starting the recording, and I will see you all on the other side. Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 98 of Stepping Wild. The essence within the wall changed as Tibbs ran. The dungeon had gotten over the surprise of how easily he'd killed the powerful creature and was trying more direct ways of killing him. He jumped over the crystal spear that flew out of the wall. Then under the next one. A metal shield blocked those he couldn't avoid when the dungeon sent multiple, having to stop at one point and encase himself. You know what? This is implied, so encase himself until the attack ended. Just let it happen, it ordered. As Tibbs ran again, if it had been a person, he'd have thought they sounded out of breath. I am going to drink you up. Ahead, in the oddly straight corridor, it did something to the floor and under it. Since it had absorbed its helper, it should know what it had, so why weren't there room? Added twists, at least. And it purposely ignored how dungeons functioned because it didn't know why it would do that, other than it felt like there was no point in using that essence since it wouldn't let anyone further than the entrance. The modified section came into view and the floor fell away. No normal person could jump that gap. Even him, as good as he was, couldn't make it without use of essence. He said the air etching at the edge of the pit, and it exploded under his foot, sending him up and over the crystal spikes and towards the other side. The dungeon was already changing things. The stone rose along the pit where his trajectory took him. He waited until he was at the top of his arc before forming the air disc, then kicked off it, sending him to the other side of the room where the dungeon had the stone rose there too. I knew you'd try something, it taunted then, and as Tibbs formed another disc that was what was left of the opening closed. He timed the ice ledge so the dungeon couldn't react to it and landed there. You can't do that! You said the lack of rules. Well, I'm saying no ice ledge allowed. The stone shifted against the ice, and Tibbs moved that along. It forced him to adjust his footing, but that barely required thought. Rogues don't care about rules. Stop that! He snorted and focused on leaving this room. The wall was dungeon-made stone, and they could be made to resist nearly everything. Stowe had made his impervious to corruption after Bardic had used that to try to reach a score and destroy him. But they had limits. Those were, in part, dependent on how strong a dungeon was. He knew this wasn't what they were, but Tibbs only thought of dungeon-made walls and items as a form of weaving, even if there was something of etching in them. That meant the dungeon needed to focus on them. Actually, I need to flip that around. Because weaves don't require thought. That's what makes them weaves and not etching. Etching requires constant focus. As a form of etching, even if there was something of weaving in them, that meant a dungeon needed to focus on them. That Tibbs could steal that essence if he was the stronger of the two. What are you doing? It asked as Tibbs pushed a strand of stone essence into the wall. It resisted tightening its essence, but it remained woven, etched. So, no matter how solid it looked and felt to his touch, his strands slipped through the gaps among the dungeon's essence. He wrapped a strand around one of the dungeons, teaching you a lesson. He made it his. What was that? He moved his control along that strand while wrapping another one. He lost count of how many strands he was gaining when it understood and fought back. If you think I'm letting you just steal from me, you shouldn't have let a rogue in then. The dungeon had strength. He couldn't sense its reserve the way he could with adventurers, but to be able to make as much as dungeons did, he wouldn't be surprised to find it rivaled is nearly a bottomless reserve. What it lacked was skill. It tightened its will, but Tibbs maintained his strands within that, moving against it in sections. Moving against it in sections. Oh, against. Okay. I guess in the sections it focused on was impossible, but it wasn't focused on the entire wall. Tibbs extended his control to any part it wasn't holding, forcing it to shift its attention and loosen its control over others. Slowly, Tibbs gained control over That is enough! The essence in the wall became solid in a way that caught him by surprise. I am done playing with you. It had taken hold of all the essence. That was impressive. Or possibly not. Neither Stone nor Furman had to do that against him. Maybe every dungeon could. Still, this wasn't over. If you had been willing to let me teach you, he added, his will to the essence locked within the wall. To his essence locked within the wall. Learning there is always someone stronger than you wouldn't have been this painful. He pushed. No. The cracks filled as they form within the essence, but not entirely. He pushed harder. You can't do this. The wall groaned. The essence bowed away from him, then reformed with more groaning as the dungeon fought back. Tibbs put his hand on the wall, anchored his feet and will, and pushed. The stone moved. No! His physical push didn't help, but made him feel good about the stone shifting under his hands. He pushed. Stop it! Cracks formed on the surface, and he filled them with his essence to keep the dungeon from reinforcing it. He pushed. The dungeon screamed in pain as the wall broke, a crack forming from ceiling to the bottom of the pit. The wall was the pit. The wall was part of. A crack from ceiling to the bottom of the pit the wall was part of. It was everything it made within its influence. It could shift its attention to another part and lessen what it felt, but it was entirely focused on here, on Tibbs, on this wall. He screamed as he pushed. The dungeon screamed back, but in pain. The wall exploded away from Tibbs. He straightened and dusted his hands off nonchalantly, not giving away how doing this had strained him. He stepped over the rubble and walked further into the dungeon. I'm going to make you pay for it. For this, it promised darkly. And I'm going to show you that working with a runner is always better than working against them. You are nothing, it snarled. A stone pillar erupted from the wall and slammed Tibbs into the opposite one. He put his hand on each side and his will on all of it and heaved. It chattered. I'm a runner. I've gone up against a dungeon who was much stronger than you. He pushed me and my friends, ate some of them, but he was a good dungeon. You don't even compare to him. The next pillar didn't reach him, and the dungeon screamed in anger. It screamed as Tibbs walked, ripping essence from the pillars that it tried to kill him with. If it wasn't so angry, it would remember stone didn't hurt him. Even dungeon made stone, and it was getting tired. Its hold over the essence of the pillars was weak, barely held together. He paused when the pillars stopped, sensing for what the dungeon might do next. He proceeded cautiously when nothing happened. He saw the end of the corridor and figured the dungeon would try something before he reached it. A dozen paces from the end, the corridor closed off behind him. Now I've got you. Crystal spike grew from it. You are never getting out of here. I don't have to do anything. There won't. There won't be much left for me to drink of, but I'll happily watch. Where did I go there? You wither away, however long that takes. Clever. The dungeon had linked the strands within the wall with so much arcanus, Tibbs doubted he'd manage to break it apart. See? I don't need you to learn. I don't need you to learn. Tibbs didn't point out that without him forcing them, they wouldn't have thought to try this. He figured that most people in this situation would spend all their energy on escaping the dead end. There's only one problem. Oh? The tone was mocking. He turned away from the new wall and faced the end of the corridor. The chamber he sensed beyond it. All the essence funneling in and out of the cradle at the further at the furthest point. He stepped to the wall. There's no room left. There's one room left for me to get into. No, there isn't. You reached the end. The wall was the same as the others. Maybe it was so no one would tell there was something behind it, but Tibbs figured the dungeon just hadn't considered anyone would make it this far. Or sense beyond the wall. Time for another lesson. The snort could have sounded dismissive if not for the hitch in it. He channeled Purity. Purity isn't only about healing. He sent raw essence at the wall, and immediately it leached some of what was there. The colors reacted first to the diminished essence, fading away. No, you can't do that! Then its physicality changed. He made out details about the room through the fading wall, the veins of essence running along the room's wall and ceilings to the cradle. Their colors became more distinct as more of the wall disappeared under Purity's onslaught. He didn't worry about damaging the inside of the room. Raw purity was only dangerous when concentrated, and he had to will it so. Otherwise, it dissipated harmlessly. The dungeon added essence in an attempt to reinforce the wall, but it was too late, and it didn't seem to have much to work with anymore. It leached away as soon as it was pushed within the wall. How? How can you know about this? We're not supposed to tell anyone. No one told me. He pushed through the nearly gone wall. It felt odd. It resisted the way a wall would, but at the same time he slipped through what made the wall real. You should have hidden your cradle better. If your helper was there, they would have told you under your floor is better. The cradle was beautiful. All those colors flowing in and out of it without ever mixing into a muddled mass. Thick like the roots of a tree, joining at the center of the back wall, at the crystal in the cradle at the core. It was his first time seeing an intact cradle. Stones had been destroyed by the color had been draining away. The destroyed dungeon's cradle had barely been noticeable, without color, without life, just like the rest of it. He took it in. He wished he didn't have to do this. Don't, the dungeon warned as Tibbs reached for the core. You can't survive touching that. There's so much essence in there that you'll just cease to be. He sensed the core. There was a lot of essence there, more than he thought he could contain that could be contained in something that small. You don't have that much essence left. He closed his fingers around the core, digging into the stone of the cradle. There was enough essence. Was there enough essence there to overflow his reserve? Please don't. It pleaded, I'll do better. I don't believe you. He tightened his grip on it. I didn't know what I was doing when I drank my helper. I had no one to guide me. You can't hold me responsible for doing things I didn't know I shouldn't be doing. He hesitated, then shook his head. You know what your helper did. You chose to go against that knowledge. I offered to help you, and you refused. There's no one in there's no one anywhere around. Else was I supposed to do? How can I be a dungeon without people? Please, have pity on me. No. He pulled, and the dungeon screamed in pain as the core came free from the roots connecting it to the rest of itself. And that concludes chapter 98 of Stepping Wild. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available for free on Royal Road. If you want to read ahead of that and support me in the process, that is on Ream Story. And if you are looking to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day. Alrighty. Come on. There we go. August 25th becomes 27th. Righty. That is done. Da, 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 da. Alrighty, on to the last chapter of last reading and correct of the day and of this book. Alrighty, so confirming microphone is on, realizing I did not turn desktop audio back on. I am on the correct screen. I have the correct image up. I am starting the recording, and I'll see you all on the other side. Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you want to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 99, the last chapter of Stepping Wild. Tibbs ignored the dungeon's whimpering as he tightened his hold on the core, or the way its voice changed once it was out of the cradle. He focused on it, on the essence in it. Please? Would he have to break the core to be able to pull the essence out? He tightened his grip more, though thought he felt the stress spread even if he couldn't sense most of the core itself. Please stop. It didn't deserve to be listened to after all the people it had carelessly killed. He took hold of the essence within it and drew it to him, only for the crystalline surface to resist. Please don't crack me. Tibbs didn't care what it wanted. The people it killed would be avenged. I don't want to die. He paused, and the faintness of its voice registered. It no longer came from all around him, but from the core directly. It sounded more than weak. It sounded young. That was no excuse for what it had done, and it wasn't like it would mean whatever it promised. Still, give me one reason why I shouldn't crack you open and drink you up. He realized the implication as he said the words, told himself it wasn't like he wasn't like it. He hadn't set out to kill the dungeon. He had offered it chance after chance to work with him. He wasn't the same. He wasn't a murderer this time. The core was wonderful, he realized. How the colors flowed together without mixing. It reminded him of how his reserve felt like when he channeled two elements. Was this what it would look like if he could channel all of them? It was small. Smaller than it had looked in the cradle. Smaller than he remembered Stowe being. Stowe had filled his palm, while this one covered no more than half of it. Did cores grow as they aged? As they gained more essence? Or were they simply different the way people were different? I'll, it finally said, only to trail off. I can? It tried. Its whimpering grew desperate. I don't know. I don't know what I can do. Say, I don't know. The whimpering grew faint. I don't want to end, but I don't know what to say. I just don't know. That was evidence. That was evidence he was justified, Tibbs told himself. But he couldn't tighten his grip, couldn't focus on pulling the essence through this surprisingly hard crystal. He could make himself stronger. The dungeon couldn't keep him from pulling earth to him anymore. Who had said it? Alistair, maybe? Being willing to admit you don't know is a good place to start changing. It sounded like something his old teacher would have said. Did that make the dungeon its mission better than a reason? Did the dungeon know that would make him hesitate, that make him question what Tibbs was doing? He tried to convince himself that was the reason, a trick to gain clemency. But how could it know? Even with mind, it wouldn't know how to pull information from him. Dungeons learned how to use essence first from watching runners use it and the knowledge they absorbed from those who failed the tests. He was its first runner, so it couldn't know how to use that element. Couldn't know how close to his own guilt the admission would be. Didn't that have to didn't that have to mean the admission was honest? If that was a good place to start changing, could he still kill it and say he was administering justice? It had gleefully killed people, been arrogant about not needing or not wanting to change, but was that all it was? Wasn't that what he thought of Dawn before getting to know him, learning that what the sorcerer had lived through, how it had shaped him? Did the dungeon deserve the chance to show it could change? Didn't Tibbs? When was the last time he'd admitted his crimes to himself? All the people he'd killed when he carelessly unleashed his anger. Wasn't he always trying to change, to be better? If the dungeon had attacked the copper-haired woman with an etching so powerful it had hurt, the dungeon had attacked the copperhead. The dungeon had attacked the copper-haired women with an etching so powerful it had hurt itself, just like Tibbs had when he let loose fire. When he let fire loose, he'd been given a chance to change, had given himself those chances. All right. What? Surprise gave its voice a fearful edge. What? Or maybe it was just scared of what it might mean. You get a second chance. I do? The silence stretched as Tibbs turned. But I didn't give you a reason. I didn't. I know. But you said. Tibbs crossed the room's exit. Wait! My cradle's in the other direction! Now its fear was clear. Don't worry. I'm not killing you. But you don't get to go back in there right now. I don't trust you to learn if you have access to all of this. He waited for his response. For its response as he walked. This would be the first test, maybe the only one. If he didn't like the reply. He waited. He needed the response to be without prompting. It came tentatively. It's all still there for me? Really? He didn't bother with surprise. It had been the answer he'd hoped for, but was it enough? Why tell me? Why not have a creature attack so they can free you? Have it take you back to your cradle? I don't know. I know that if they can't crack you open, kill me. That's what would happen. Just like what you were afraid I'd do to you. Call it what it is. I'm still afraid you're going to do that. I might. In some places, what you did is considered irredeemable. I'm waiting to see if you'll give me a reason. If they didn't kill you, that would be a reason. You wouldn't just take me from my cradle this time. You'd crush me, kill me. So, the only reason you told me is because you're afraid I would have killed you if you tried and failed? I think so, but I don't know. Sounded exasperated. I don't know why I told you. I'm scared and I don't want to you angry and I thought I should. They sounded even smaller. I just don't know. Okay. Admitting you didn't know some was a good place to start changing. Okay? The surprise was filled with exasperation. What do you mean, okay? I didn't answer you. You did. Silent stretch. I don't understand. He chuckled. That's a sensation you want to get used to. There's a lot out in the world you aren't going to understand. But I know everything it knows. I learned all that when I killed them. Your helper didn't know everything. They would have done their best, but they would have made mistakes. Would they have kept me from... I don't know. They would have tried. They would have told you the rules, but you learned them through absorbing what they knew. Helpers can't force you to do what they say, just threaten you with a visit from the dem. I don't think they're real, it said after a stretched silence. What they know of 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 the thing of the things it thought of as the them were just things they'd heard, had been told. They'd never seen one. Oh, they're real. I fought one. He stopped before the room with the missing floor. What are they like? He considered his answer. Like me, but so much worse. Are you? Tibbs laughed. No, I'm not a dem. They would have had an easier time with you than I did. They can take control of your creatures from you. He paused. You wouldn't have been able to convince them not to kill you. Once they decide you broke too many rules, they can't be stopped. He crouched. All right. Since you can still control this, remake the floor. The silent stretch, and Tibbs readied himself. Will you take me back to my cradle after that? A question was better than an ultimatum. No. Nothing I have you do will lead to taking you back there. This is because I don't feel like making an etching that would let me jump over it. You made it. You fix it. Think of it as a lesson. You are responsible for what you do. If you make a mistake, you have to be the one to fix it. And this was a mistake? Not necessarily, he admitted, but you did it, so you need to undo it. Essence shifted within the wall, moving down along them, mainly earth, but air, water, and others. How do I know when I make a mistake? They sounded strained. This is harder than before. Sometimes it's as obvious as being ripped out of your cradle. Others, it might be years before you realize it. Some people never do, or never admit to it, at least. Never admit to it, at least. The floor stretched unevenly from the walls, plural. Like a water puddle stretching as more water was added. Even now, the essence was thinner than what he thought of as dungeon made, much more like normal stone. When it covered the whole, it was thick enough it could support more than his weight. It also lacked flaws that might hint at traps. So I might not know. He crossed the new stone, remaining alert for changes. He couldn't sense the dungeon's will until it did something. Did you know you were making a mistake before I pulled you from your cradle? Its compliance made Tibbs uneasy, reminding himself it wasn't a person the way he was, only offered a little reassurance. It had been quite pleased with doing whatever it wanted before. The dungeon hadn't answered by the time he reached the other side. Was it trying to work out if doing something it knew was against the rule was wrong? Was it looking for ways to justify its decisions? How many people had he met who did that? How often had he done it? It wasn't always easy to be honest with himself, even with light as one of his element. I didn't care, he finally said. So you knew. I'm just the incentive you can't ignore. Yes. Sunlight became visible, and then he stepped to it. Then he was outside, soaking in the heat. He hadn't realized how cooler the dungeon was. Do you feel the heat? I sense the essence. There's mostly air and light, not really any fire. Heat isn't limited to fire. It's part of how essences interact. He raised his face to the sun. No one really understands why, but some will cause what I feel as heat on my skin or the coolness of the breeze. Okay. He chuckled at the lack of interest. He saw her in the distance, a body on the grass, but didn't rush. What was the point? There was no essence in her anymore. What are you doing? It asked, sounding worried. I'm going to see the woman that we killed. Maybe his blast hadn't played a part in her death, but she'd been here because of him. How she tracked him all the way, he couldn't imagine, but regardless, he'd played a part in it. You can't. This is another lesson. Facing what you did. Stop, please. You can't take me there. You don't get to avoid this, he replied tone hard. We are going to take her, build a pyre, and send her back to the elements. Maybe there would be something on her about her family. Maybe he could bring them news of what had happened to her. Stop! You can't take me outside. cried out as Tib stepped from the dried grass and onto Losh, then whimpered, "Please take me back." He looked at the line, the border of the dungeon's influence. He hadn't considered that. Thinking it over, he'd expected its influence to be centered on the core. He focused on it, and it was fine. The crystal shell was as solid as before, no essence leaked out. It would be fine. He reached the young woman and crouched next to her. So abyss young to be out here, chasing him, to be dead. Look at what we did. He reached under her armor and pulled out the stone. The core whimpered. He hardened his voice. "I said, look at what we... I can't!" It snapped. "I don't see anything. I sense the element, and I can't sense anything other than me and you. Sorry, than you and me. There is nothing. Take me back." Something else he hadn't considered. "Please," it begged softly. "I'll be good, I promise. I'll only have creatures that can hurt those who come in. I'll make traps for them to beat. I'll wait for them to come. I won't send creatures out. I'll wait however long it takes for them to find me. Please take me back." He swallowed the lump. He remembered how lost he'd been away from everything he'd known, not knowing what to expect from this world he'd been sold into, of leaving home and his family behind and facing a new world, this time of his own volition. Gently, he took the chain off her and held the green stone. He didn't like how it felt. Even this week, it would disrupt any etching he tried to make. How could something like this come to be? The elements made up everything, had to be part of this. So how could it disrupt their essences? "Please, I promise I don't trust you," he said without anger. "You don't know how powerful temptation is. I trust you mean what you're saying. There's no light on the words, but how long can you have nothing and be okay with it when you can so easily make something happen? Once I've shown you more of what's out there, I'll bring you back." "But there's nothing!" He pocketed the stone and chain and did his best to ignore how it felt. He should throw it as far as he could, but it could be useful. It affected anyone with an element. He'd work on some way to contain its effect once he dealt with the young woman's body. There's more than what you sense. I'll figure out a way to show it to you, but right now I have a pyre to build. He stood and headed for the tree line. He could probably make a pyre from wood essence. It would burn just as well, but he wanted something to do while he thought, and that the gasp and life essence appearing out of nowhere made him whirl to face the woman as she sat, hurried to check herself, then looked around, saw him, and locked eyes with him. The tint to her essence registered at the same time as the silver eyes. "You," she snarled, getting to her feet, and Tibbs reflexively pocketed the core, "are coming with me." She placed a foot down. "You are wanted." Her leg folded under her, and she fell. The only motion, once she hit the ground, was her breathing. He stared at her. This was going to complicate things. And that concludes Stepping Wild. Tibbs' story continues in Mind Your Step, which I'll do the read and correct in a few months, once I'm on draft 2. Unsure how long that will take, because I don't know how long book Mind Your Step will be. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for listening. If you want to know, if you did, please leave a like. If you want to know when further chapters of books, further read and corrects will be up, subscribe, hit the bell. If you want to read this, it's available for free on Reams on Royal Road. You can also read all of it on Reams Story. By the time you listen to this, it will have caught up. So, but yeah, and if you want to listen to more of these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, on Twitch and YouTube. Yeah. And with that, oh yeah, links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day. Oh. I will be right back. And congratulations, James. 380 words, the anecdotes of the artistocracy. Da, 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 da. 27th means 29th. Consider yourself hogged back, James. Did you hear me congratulating you, or do you need me to say it again? Alrighty, well, congratulations, James. 380 words, the anecdotes of the artistocracy. getting food. Actually, I'll probably be on Game of Thrones before you come back. I'm I'm very close to ending the stream. I just have a few things left to well, I mean, like few minutes, like maybe 10 minutes at most is what so alrighty, enjoy. Oh, that's the mistake I made. Okay, let's do this in the correct order then. Well, welcome back, James. Alrighty. Let's use that to remove this. Alrighty. And with this done, I am going to call the stream early. I am taking a half day. I've got a few things to do before I leave to go see Superman. And I will be rating Game of Thrones as per James. Guide as per James, guiding the raid. A film that is a film? Really? You're ruining it? You're spoiling it for me again? Damn it. Thank you very much, everyone, for dropping by and keeping me company. I'm definitely not telling you about the fact that I want to see Fantastic Four movie, because you're going to tell me it's a movie again. You're gonna, yeah. I will be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be working on Mind Your Step, Book 5 in the Dungeon Runner series, and in the afternoon on the Technician's Fight. I hope to see you then. If I do not, I hope you have a good week, a good weekend when it arrives, and I will see you when I see you.